It's Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. Before I start the video today, I want to remind everybody, please give this video a thumbs up, share all my videos all over your social media, and please support the channel by subscribing. Hit that bell notification also so that you're alerted with the newest videos. But without further ado, I want to get right into it today. I printed out some articles, jotted down some notes. Love to get your opinion. Comment down below, best comment section of any YouTube channel out there. So keep the comments coming. Really, really appreciate all the wisdom and knowledge, and so does everybody else. But we had the Fed minutes today. And watching a little bit of the Fed minutes, I can tell you the probability of the Fed reversing course and cutting rates this year is about 1%, 0 to 1%. They're not going to be pivoting. They're not going to be cutting rates in 2023. And there's no way that they're going to see 2% inflation. In fact, now they're saying it's going to be 2025 before we see 2% inflation. And there's speculation that maybe the Fed will just come out and say, well, 2.8% is pretty good. So we'll try to get it to 2.8%. They're losing control, ladies and gentlemen, no doubt about it. CNBC, Fed minutes show members resolve to keep fighting inflation with rate hikes. We're going to get more rate hikes this year. Question is March. Is it going to be 25 basis points? Will it be 50 basis points? Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Or does it even matter? Do you even care? In my opinion, it doesn't matter if it's 25 or 50, because no matter what it is, as long as the U.S. government continues to spend money the way it is spending money, completely out of control, $1.7 trillion package here, raise the debt ceiling over here, send billions of dollars overseas over there. Yet, of course, the people in Ohio aren't seeing billions of dollars, but if you're in Eastern Europe, you'll see billions of dollars. As long as we're doing this, and we're not opening up pipelines, the Fed is going to literally be spinning its wheels. Now, the Fed created a majority of this mess, and the more they try to clean it up, the more nothing is going to happen. First off, inflation is much higher than 6.4%. Secondly, we have a government that cannot stop spending. Thirdly, we've closed up our pipelines. So I don't see how they can fight inflation with all this against them. And on top of it, you need to be raising rates much more than 25 basis points, 50 basis points. I mean, you got to start going a full percentage or 1.5%. You rip the Band-Aid off and let the games begin. But again, what do you do when you have a government that it cannot stop spending and you're raising rates at the same time? So I just don't see how it's going to be productive. I just see it causing more problems for the economy and especially the middle class. Labor markets remain very, very tight. This according to the Fed, very tight, contributing to continuing upward pressures on wages and prices. WolfStreet.com, spring selling season starts ominously. Mortgage applications to purchase a home plunged to lowest since 1995. Prospects of 7% mortgages return. Surge in activity in January from very low levels has fizzled. So we saw an uptick in January, and now everything has plunged again. I looked at the 30-year fixed mortgage this morning on bankrate.com, 6.96%. That is up 24 basis points from a week ago, ladies and gentlemen. And it's interesting, as I talk to real estate agents on a weekly basis, most of them won't even call me back. But as most of you know, I'm looking for a property in the South, and I'll call some agents, and it's amazing that they believe everything is going to be okay. I guess business is doing really well because none of them call me back. They tell me that they have tons of buyers, and they're not being affected at all. Yet when I go on Zillow and I look at areas all over the country, and as I'm looking in the South, I'm seeing 30, 40, 50, 60, $200,000 price reductions, up to $200,000 price reduction on a home. But I'm seeing anywhere from 10 to 50,000 on average, multiple homes being reduced weekly by that amount. Yet these real estate agents don't know how to return a phone call, but I guess that's why many of them aren't going to exist much longer, why many of them will be going back to the service sector, and why many of them just don't make much money to begin with. But hopefully I'll find some good agents out there in the South that will be able to help me. But as long as I have Zillow, I'm looking at some of the other apps out there. But it's amazing how the people out there just don't want to make any money. Anyways, if we compare mortgage apps from today to a year ago, they have plunged 41%. Yet I can't get a real estate agent to call me back. They must be that busy. Again, we heard that mortgage apps were picking up in January. Now that we're nearing 7%, it has gone dead. So much for that. So much for the hope. I was watching the television. They were, oh my goodness, look at the home builders are picking up. Mortgage apps are picking up. Looks like we're coming out of this. Everything's going to be okay. Give me a break. I still truly believe that we're going to see a 30-year mortgage rate exceed 10%. To think that isn't possible, you are drinking the Kool-Aid. I've never met an agent out there, and I want to say this is the worst possible time you could buy a home. This is the worst possible time to buy a home. It's amazing that people will buy into a bubble while the bubble is losing air. That's how I see this right now. Stock market, housing market, this is a massive bubble losing air, and people continue to buy into it. And they are going to lose viciously. But I've never met a real estate agent that ever told me it was a bad time to buy a house. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is a bad time to buy a house. Don't do it. When you have more and more price reductions, just go to Zillow, you're going to see more and more price reductions. I look at some of the homes. As many of you know, I'm looking for a ranch in the South. As I look at these homes, 185 days on market, 210 days on market, 335 days on market, 97 days on market, 299 days on market. Sooner or later, the seller, the investor, they're going to figure out that this thing's a lemon and nobody's buying it until you start lowering the price a lot. But if you're a buyer, I would exercise patience right now. I'd be stacking as much cash as I could. I'd be putting down as much as I could. I'd pay cash if I could. I would have as much dry powder ready to go because opportunity is going to be knocking on the door. And I think that we're going to begin to see some real discounts. They're starting right now, but the market has been so overinflated that even if you drop some of these homes $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, they're still overvalued. They probably wouldn't even appraise. So they've got a long way to go. And this is now going to be a war of attrition. If you can weather the storm here, I think that you'll outlast the sellers, and that's where you get the opportunities and the discounts. 1 in 6 retirees are mulling a return to work. I wonder why. Well, here's the top reasons. This is on CNBC. 57% said it was personal reasons, AKA money. 53% said they need more money. 52% said they're getting bored of not having money probably. 45% said they were feeling lonely, and 45% said inflation, meaning money. So a lot more people going back to work. 1 in 6, it says, are thinking about it. That number is going to go up a lot more. I can promise you that. We're going to see so many people in this country working in their 80s. You know, sometimes when I go out, my friends will tell me, you know, I can't believe like how old the waitress was. You know, it looks like she's 80 years old. If you go to some of the casinos out here, which I don't, but every once in a while, if I stop in and eat at one of the casinos, you will see a much older crowd working at the casinos. And you're seeing many more older people working in retail and service sector jobs now. And you're going to see more of it because they can't afford on a limited budget to stay at home and not work. So it's going to force a lot of older people, a lot of retirees out of the home back to work, without a doubt. People on a limited income. just not being able to survive. Here's one from the Wall Street Journal. More parents are moving in with adult children at younger ages. 1 in 5 Americans lived in a multi-generational household where the head of that household was 25 to 34 years old. Now, 1 in 4 Americans ages 25 to 34 live with their parents. Now, it's not uncommon, especially in some areas out here in the desert, and I've said this many, many times, where you drive by a house, there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 cars parked out in front of that house. There's people living in the garage. People have remodeled their garages into living quarters. That's very common out here, and it may be common in your area too. Now, we do have a lot of younger people that have moved back home that have massive amounts of college tuition debt, will not go out and get a job, will not get a side hustle, will not hustle at all, and their parents allow them to live at home rent-free, and those kids sit at home, playing video games, vaping all day. That to me is wrong. Now, on the flip side of that, there's people that work very, very hard, working multiple side hustles, but because of inflation, maybe because they're paying off debt, lack of opportunity, they're forced to make some serious decisions here. Maybe that decision is moving back home. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. If your family says, hey, come back home, and you're working and you're contributing to the household, paying rent or what have you, you're contributing, maybe it's time to eat your pride and go, hey, maybe in order to pay off that college tuition debt or to pay off that credit card debt, maybe I need to go home for 12 months. And, maybe my parents are going to give me, a little less, discounted rent, and I can get ahead here. I can save some money. I can pay off the debt, and I can breathe again. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I really applaud it. And I think that in the worst of times, family needs to come together. That doesn't mean to go home and be a freeloader, whether you're the parent moving in with your kids or you're the kids moving in with the parent. Don't be a freeloader. Contribute. And make sure you're working and hustling as much as you can so that you can get out. But we have too many people now, too many parents who have just allowed their kids to come home and freeload, not contribute, not be productive citizens. And these people are literally like zombies, where they just expect you and I to pay off their college tuition debt. They expect us to just pay their debts, or the parents to pay their debts. And what kind of message does that send? So there's two different ways, two different situations here. But I think that if you're a hustler and you have to move home for a while and you're contributing, I think this is a great opportunity for families to come together, to help one another out, to get stronger financially, to just have a stronger family unit, which we could use here in America. But I think it's extremely important that the family is contributing and that the family is producing, being productive and being responsible. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I think more people need to be doing it. There's so many people that have so much pride that, oh, well, I don't want to give up the car or the zip code or my freedom and independence to move back home, even though, I have $180,000 in debt and I'm drowning. And I just think that you really have to think about it and stop worrying what everybody else thinks about you, about where you live, what kind of car you drive, what kind of watch you wear. It doesn't matter. We've got to get that projection out of our head and just now worry about getting out from being a debt slave and being as independent and self-sufficient as possible and not worry about what other people think. When you come to a point in your life where you don't care what people think about you, where you live, what kind of car you drive, what kind of watch you wear, when you get to that point, you will understand that it is much better to be free and debt-free than being a debt slave. You'll understand that people don't really care at the end of the day what you're driving. That Why are you trying to impress people you don't even know? So many people on social media always trying to impress people they don't know. These people don't know you. They don't care about you. You need to handle your own business and get debt-free as soon as possible. That's the only way you can become wealthy. It's the only way you can be independent, is becoming debt-free. You're going to sleep better at night. Your health will increase. And again, if you want the opportunity to become wealthy, you got to be debt-free. You cannot be rich and have massive amounts of debt. It just doesn't work that way. You got to be your own central bank. The hedge, Iraq to drop dollar for yuan in trade with China. This was shocking today, yet it wasn't shocking. We've been talking about this happening. It's going to happen a lot more. The Iraqi central bank announced today that for the first time, it plans to allow trade from China to be settled directly in yuan instead of the US dollar. Not a word of this on any of the financial channels today. Not a word of this. This to me is a historic day. This today marks the beginning of the end of the US dollar. Not to say that it's going to end next week, next month, or next year, or that it's ever going to end. It may exist for a very, very long time, but it is not going to be the world reserve currency forever. That is for sure. Remember, all those dollars that we spent many, many years ago in Iraq, remember the war, over $1 trillion. Remember that. All those dollars now that we spent over there have been just flushed down the toilet. Just flushed down the toilet. Another blunder that we've made, and we're making more right now. This is really big news, and nobody's talking about it because it's going to happen more and more. And the more it happens, the weaker the US dollar is going to become. Your standard of living is going to be affected more and more as more countries de-dollarize. And people don't understand that because they're too busy playing games. They're too busy in La La Land. They're too busy on social media trying to impress us with their steak dinners and their weekend getaways. Wow. Things like this are happening behind the scenes. Again, we have to recognize things, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we have major bubbles in the bond market, the stock market, the housing market. We have all these bubbles taking place right now, and the air is beginning to come out of all these bubbles, and yet you have people still investing in bubbles while the air is coming out of them. This is how delusional people are. This is how much they believe that the Fed is going to come in and rescue them, or that nothing bad can happen, that the dollar will be the world reserve currency forever. It doesn't work like that. Look at history. But this is why I believe when we see this story with the Iraqi central banks, when we see the air coming out of the bubbles, and yet we still have people fighting the Fed right now. They're fighting the bubbles. They don't want to believe that the air is coming out. They're still investing in this. And this is why I believe we see the housing market beginning to slow down, mortgage apps plunging, and yet there are still people out there. There are people that will go buy a house today. This is why I believe we're going to see massive carnage in the economy, massive carnage in the markets, in housing, in bonds, all of it across the board. People don't want to look at reality. They just believe everything's going to be okay. And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, things are not going to be okay. They're not okay right now. If we even knew what was really happening, I think people would be shaking in their boots right now if we really knew how bad it was. We're not being told how bad it really is. We're not being told the real condition of the banks. We're not being told about what's happening with the Iraqi central bank in China. We're not talking about, you know, the friendship now strengthening between China and Russia, and how they want to go back to gold and have, you know, how they want to use their own currencies. They want to implement gold with those currencies. Saudi Arabia selling oil to China and thinking now about taking yuan for that oil. So much is happening. And, you know, most people have never even left their state, let alone left the country, and they have no idea what is going on in the rest of the world. And if you take a little bit of time and you do a little bit of homework and a little bit of due diligence, I think you'd be very, very concerned. Think about what's going to happen to your pensions, what's going to happen to Social Security, what's going to happen to your dollars, what's going to happen to your 401ks. Your 401ks have already lost 20% last year. Did you see what happened in the markets yesterday? Today, very, very flat. I don't know what'll happen tomorrow. I could care less. I'm not in these markets whatsoever. And a lot of people say they're not in the markets, but they have a 401k that is in the markets. They have a pension that is in the markets. These markets are a ticking time bomb. They're going to go down, just like housing, just like bonds, just like the US economy has already collapsed. Now it's a matter of the fragmentation of a collapsing economy. Yes, the economy has collapsed, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the economy has collapsed. And now we're gonna see how bad the fragmentation of that collapse is and how much damage has really been done. We're going to find out here very, very shortly as more people get laid off, as more retailers close, as more office buildings go vacant. We're going to find out just how bad it is. And as people at some point are going to wish that they had a job, they're going to be starving for a job. Ladies and gentlemen, this thing can get really, really bad. Just imagine if this system cannot get food to people, if the inflation gets so out of control or the food shortages get so bad that your money buys you hardly anything. Even if the shelves are fully loaded and prices continue to soar and you're on a fixed income or a very limited budget and your dollar is just being ravaged by inflation, you go to the grocery store with $100 and you have two little bags of food, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in big trouble. So as I leave you today, make sure you get the debts paid off. Make sure that you're putting some cash away. Make sure you're putting some gold and silver away. Make sure you have a way to protect all of this stuff. Make sure that you have a skill set. And if you have more than one skill set, that's even better. If you're sitting at home not doing anything, why not go and learn how to do something? Get a skill set right now. I'm going to leave it there today. So much going on. It's concerning. And to the people out there that, tell me that they worry about me, don't worry about me. I'm sleeping good at night. I have plenty of security. I have plenty of cash in different locations, plenty of assets in different locations. I'm trying to get a ranch in the South where I can really have a buffer, a nice big parcel of land, a buffer to keep people away from me. So I can watch all of this from my television, not from my front window like so many are going to watch as they see big, big trouble in crime infiltrating their neighborhoods. You're already seeing it. It's going to get much, much worse. I feel sorry for a lot of people who are late to the party, a lot of people who ignored the warning signs, who have ignored reality, and they're still ignoring it because they're really jeopardizing their families, they're jeopardizing their own lives financially, physically. They're putting themselves in a really, really dangerous situation. If the lights went out for a week, the power went down, grid, whatever, do you really want to go to a Walmart or a grocery store? I mean, people have no idea what is coming. They have no idea. But unfortunately, they're going to find out the hard way.